Thousands of cars and trucks pass by the billboard every day along Interstate 40. In the nearby towns of Claremont and Catawba, people are talking about its message of support for President Trump's ban on Muslims by pointing to the 9/11 attack and those behind it.
I think the numbers are powerful enough in themselves. So if you look at it and you don't think something's wrong with it, then it makes me wonder about you.
I believe in the actual Christian way, and that's to embrace everybody. So kind of the hate message behind it, I'm not really for that.
The North Carolina Pastors Network, which funded the sign, claims to have support from 600 pastors across the state. It is headed by evangelist David Kistler, who doesn't believe the billboard's message is one of hate.
So this is the story in North Carolina that has absolutely gone viral around the country. And it's just, it baffles me. When I saw it, I almost couldn't believe that it was a story. I'm like, why do they perceive this to be a story? And it's a billboard that says, why support President Trump's executive order, his travel ban? Well, here's a reason. 19 Muslim immigrants killed 2,977 Americans on September 11th, 2001. That's drawing controversy. But people remembering what happened on 2001, you're not allowed to remind people of that. I looked down the Google search here, WGN-TV, WSOC-TV, WCNC, those are in Charlotte, Fox 24, Fox 25 in Boston, ABC 11, all of these major news organizations, USA Today, even CNN. Dave Kistler is joining us right now. He is one of the pastors for the organization that decided to put up this billboard. And Pastor Kistler, thanks for giving us some time today.
It is a delight, Mark, to be on with you. Thank you.
So you were indeed on CNN this morning talking about this, correct?
I was indeed. It was not a video interview; it was an audio interview. But yes, CNN did an interview with me about the billboard.
Are you baffled by how much attention people have drawn to this billboard? I fail to see what is so controversial about it.
Well, I'm in agreement with you, Mark. If this had been put up, 9 years ago, 10 years ago, we wouldn't be getting all of this kickback, but we're living in a politically correct world, tragically, and so truth is now the new hate speech. There is nothing that's not accurate or not truthful about the billboard. It was 19 people that perpetrated an act of terror on 9/11. They were immigrants or they were here on student visas. The only people that didn't know the length of their stay were the victims that suffered as a result of these people's actions. The people that knew how long they were going to be here were the terrorists themselves. Some had been here months. Others had been here close to a year. But again, they killed 2,977 people, and all of that is accurate. And to be honest with you, yes, I am stunned that this has created so much of a firestorm.
Yeah. Tell me about your organization, the North Carolina Pastors Organization, and why you felt compelled to pay for this billboard.
Well, the North Carolina Pastors Network is a network of just under 600 pastors across the state of North Carolina. It is not a membership organization. Technically, there's no dues or anything like that. Guys that adhere to our core principles, will sign up and be a part of our mission. We encourage pastors to speak truth into the culture, both from their pulpit and via the pulpit of media, whether that be television, radio, social media, whatever. And we're just trying to challenge pastors to be courageous in speaking to the moral issues that are facing our nation today. We felt like the billboard was pivotal and critical because of what's upcoming. We have, Mark, as you are very well aware, we have a problem across the United States and around the world with terrorism that is not declining. It is increasing. We've had 2 terror attacks just this past week, one last night in Egypt, one on Monday in Manchester, England, a country with which I am very familiar. I've been there many, many times. And because of all of that, the one component that's not being addressed is the basis for these terror attacks, where it's coming from, and it's the Islamic ideology. So we wanted to put the billboard up to spark conversation, to get people to think about the one thing that's not being addressed, and that is the ideological component that's driving all of it.
I've complained about this so much, this sort of a political correctness that has enveloped part of America, where you're not supposed to speak the truth about where this is coming from. Donald Trump got targeted for it when he used the words radical Islamic terror. The left does not like to talk about it at all. In this particular case, you brought up the Coptic Christians that were murdered in Egypt. Many of them have been murdered in Egypt, even though they were there before the Islamicists were. And then the attack in England, which is an attack on our systems that support the freedom of religious liberty. I mean, we support their right to have their own religion, but they can't stand that.
Well, you're exactly right. And, of course, part of the complaints that we have received in the last 48 hours is that, the travel ban consists of 6 countries. In Saudi Arabia, where the majority of the 9/11 hijackers came from, is not on the list. But what I've been trying to help people understand is 2 things. Number one, the 9/11 attacks occurred 16 years ago. The countries that are on the current proposed travel ban list by the president are countries that are now currently deemed to be the most dangerous in the world, and Islamic terrorists are coming from them. So are we supposed to, live by the standard 16 years ago or right now? And the bottom line is this: the country of origin is not really the issue. It is the Islamic ideology that is motivating these people to perpetrate these horrific acts.
We're talking to Pastor David Kistler, who is with the group that's put up this billboard reminding people of what happened on 9/11 and who did it. Pastor, I want to play the reaction they got from one of your fellow pastors there, not far away from your hometown, a guy named Paul Cummings, who claimed that what you're doing flies in the face of what the Bible teaches. Let me play this real quick.
I think these people need the saving gospel of Jesus more than I need to be protected. So I'm perfectly willing for people that are hostile to us to be in our country, because that's what loving your enemy is all about.
I mean, I think he's right, and I think you would probably agree that you feel that you've got the loving grace of Jesus, but you can't. I mean, you've got to take common sense steps to protect your society from threats like this.
Mark, we're talking about two things here, and he is correct. As an individual Christian, I love all people. And what CNN, at least I hope they will broadcast this, asked me about, do you have Muslim friends? I said, yes, I do. I have Muslim friends that are still Muslim. I have Muslim friends that have converted from Islam to Christianity, and they're both my friends. I love both of these groups equally. They will always be my friends. My responsibility as an individual Christian, as a pastor, is to love all people. But when we're talking about the country, according to Romans 13 in the Scripture, government bears a sword, and that sword is basically to enact justice. And the chief responsibility of our president is to keep the American people safe. That is his governmental duty. So when we talk about a travel ban, I'm not talking about my individual responsibility as a Christian. I'm talking about what is the responsibility of government to keep Americans safe, and that is our president's chief, foremost responsibility. He takes an oath of office to keep that. And so we're talking about 2 different things. So Mr. Cummings is right on one level, but on the other area, the governmental jurisdictional arena of authority, he's ignoring completely.
Yeah, we can't ignore the reality of this threat. The people of Manchester, England can't afford to ignore it. And I think Europe has seen the danger of just ignoring it and singing Kumbaya and saying we're all going to get along. It doesn't work. Dave Kistler, where can people go to find out more about your pastor's organization there in North Carolina?
Well, they can certainly visit our Pastors Network website. It's just ncpastors.net. ncpastors.net. We'd be delighted to have them go there and leave a comment or make a statement, ask a question. Either one would be fine. I
appreciate that, sir. Keep up the good fight.
Thank you, Mark, so much. Appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you. That is Pastor Dave Kistler from the group there in North Carolina that put up this billboard that's just injured so many feelings across the country. It stirs controversy, the headline says, at WCNC in Charlotte. Why is that controversial? I'd love somebody to answer that question for me. When I worked in the news media, I worked at Channel 4 News. I was sitting on the news desk about to anchor the morning news. We just about finished a show. We were waiting for CBS to come back to us when the first plane hit the Twin Towers. And you know what happened after that. Within 6 months of that happening, The pressure was put on media across the country to stop showing the video. And to this day, I would argue to you that most media still don't show the video. You can go to the 9/11 Memorial up in Washington, up in New York City, which I did when I was up there, the World Trade Center. And they've got videos running in pre-screened areas where you can see the planes hitting and the explosions and the people jumping out of the buildings. And it's enough to bring you to your knees. They have to have benches in that room for you to sit down on, because when you see people who had to make the option to jump from a 40 or 50 story or 80 story window because they couldn't get down because of the flames, they would rather have jumped than face the horror that was going on inside that building. We need to remember that. We need to remember the folks that brought that upon us and not hide from it. And I commend these people in North Carolina for having the guts to pull that billboard up and remind people that what this president's trying to do is protect us from the kind of attacks we've seen around the world. And why in the world you wouldn't support that is a mystery to me. CNN